Hey everyone, this is Lomi, and today I'm going to be making a fantasy antler headdress for one of my dolls. I recently got these Christmas picks from Michael's on clearance for about $1 each, and I wanted to go ahead and share this while they're still available in some stores in the US, just in case anybody wanted to make their own. I'm going to be using floral wire to make a custom headband, so this is pretty easy to get and readily available. And then I have some artificial flowers that I got on clearance back in the fall, and this bush was a little bit less than $1, but I stuck it into a box with a wig, and that was apparently a really bad idea because it is now covered in wig fiber. I'll have to pick it clean while I'm going through the crafting process. I've also got my hot glue gun so that I can attach the flowers and the antlers to the headband, and the pliers and wire cutters are for the floral wire, of course. These flowers are a little bit bigger than what I would like, but they're the smallest thing that I have on hand, so I'll just make do with them. I'm going to begin the process by braiding the 3 pieces of floral wire that I have because one piece alone wouldn't be wide enough to attach anything to. I glue the end together just to keep it from coming apart when I'm trying to braid everything, but that ended up not being quite sturdy enough, so I have to hold it with my pliers to get it started. I probably could have just kept the 3 pieces straight next to each other, but I like the extra texture of having it braided, and that also gives me a wide enough headband that I can glue things onto it and have a good sturdy foundation. This doesn't need to be perfect, which is good because my braiding is not great, especially not with something rigid like wire. Once the braid is long enough, I wrap one of the pieces of wire around the others a couple times to create the end of the headband, and then I cut off the excess wire. It's been a while since I did any kind of normal crafting or prop making, so I thought this would be kind of a fun way to start off the year. Something really chill and not very demanding. And then I tried to cut both wires at one time, but it turns out I didn't have the hand strength for that. I put a little bit of hot glue on the end of the cut wires just to make sure that it won't scratch my doll. This also helps because it keeps the green string that's wrapped around the wire from fraying. I bend the headband loosely to the right size and shape. This is going to be for my SD dolls, so it can be pretty big. Then I unbraid the wires at the other end, wrap it just like the other side, and trim off the extra wire. This side will get a little bit of glue as well. In order to attach the antlers to the headband, I'm going to have to cut them off the pick. I probably should have grabbed a cutting board for this because I'm really worried about accidentally nicking my tabletop with this razor blade. It's pretty easy to cut actually, but I'm trying to go really slow and just rocking it through a little bit at a time so I don't suddenly shoot through the antler and then gouge my table. I actually thought these antlers would be hollow because of how lightweight they are, but they're solid inside. The paint chips off a little bit, but I can always touch that up later. I take a minute to figure out where I want the antlers to be on the headdress, and then I'll put a little dot of glue on the headband to mark where I want it to be. The hot glue that I have is from a pack of like 500 glue sticks that I bought several years ago, and it has turned so yellow. Fortunately, it won't be visible on this. I put lots of glue on the bottom of the antler and press it to the headband and hold it in place until it's cool enough to let go. I do the same thing for the other antler, but I ended up moving that one a little bit too soon and it came off, so I had to redo it. Since these are plastic, it's pretty easy to peel the glue off the bottom of the antler, which means I'll have to handle it carefully once it's done because I won't want them to fall off. I'm using low temp glue, which doesn't have as strong of a grip as high temp glue, but it's also less likely to burn me, and I do burn myself with this a couple times through the project, so it probably would have been unwise to use a higher temperature. After the antlers are glued on, I also add a little bit of glue to the underside so that the glue on the bottom of the antler kind of loops all the way around the headband. This will keep it from popping off the headband quite as easily, and it'll also add a little bit of extra grip to the underside of the headband so it won't slide around on the doll's wig. Once the glue on the antlers is cool, I can start pulling flowers off the bush and figuring out where I want them to go. I'm going to put these all around the base of the antlers. You can put the glue on the headband or you can put the glue on the flowers, it doesn't really matter. Just go with whatever is easiest for you. Flower arranging isn't one of my skills, so a lot of this for me is just picking up pieces and holding them in place until I figure out where I want them. I really like the green leafy bits that the flowers come on, so I try to incorporate some of those, both with and without flowers. It adds a lot of texture and dimension, and it helps add a little bit more of a natural feel. At some point I think I may repaint these antlers because I'm not totally crazy about the brushed brown on top of them, but I don't have a really nice ivory and I don't feel like mixing paint tonight, and also I don't have time to wait for something to dry. I actually got 2 sets of these antlers, and the other one I spray painted silver, but it's been really rainy here, so it's really humid and it's taking forever for it to dry. I don't know if I'll make a video about the other pair of antlers. I'm planning to decorate them up with chains and things instead of flowers, but if you want to see it, let me know, and I'll see if I can squeeze it in. If nothing else, I can always put together a kind of Let's Craft video. As I go through this process, I try to bunch the flowers in really close together so that they hide all the glue. At first I considered going higher with the flowers, but I didn't really like how it looked, so I ended up cutting them back off and just leaving the green part. As I move into the new year, I've been thinking a lot about the projects that I wanted to get done last year over the summer that I never had an opportunity to touch. I had a lot of clothes that I wanted to make for my dolls, I wanted to make some armor, and I really wanted to have Rune finished by now. Things didn't go quite as planned, but I'm happy with the progress that I made in the end. This year I think I'm going to try to plan for fewer projects and just work on whatever takes my fancy at any given time. It's really nice to be able to come up to my studio and sit down and work on something like this that's really low pressure, something really relaxing and helps me unwind after a difficult day. Hopefully I'll have fewer difficult days as we move into the new year because I'm planning a much lighter workload for my books as well. I ended up publishing 9 books in 2020, and while most of them were things that were already written and just needed to be edited and polished up for publication, it was still a huge amount of work. This year, I'm aiming to finish my Snake's Blood Saga series, and hopefully after that I'll be done writing a couple books for my next fantasy series. Overall, my goal is 4 books this year, which seems very sedate after the pace I set last year. I wanted to add something to hang down around the sides of the doll's head too, so I thought I would glue in just like a couple little ribbons to hang down from the flowers. But most of the gold ribbons that I have seem a little bit too wide. I do have this nice narrow one that I just got for doing corsets, and I think it'll be perfect. I start by tying the ribbon into a knot right in the middle so that the glue will have more of a surface to cling to. Having something a little bit larger like a knot to push into the hot glue makes me less likely to burn myself. Of course, you could also place these using tweezers or something, and after I thought of that, I decided to use my pliers to place the second ribbon, which worked really well. Once the ribbons are glued in, I give this just a few minutes to cool to make sure that all the glue is really secure, and then I can try it on my doll. Just something fast and easy, but I think it turned out pretty in the end. If you decide to make your own pair, be sure to tag me on Instagram so I can see how it looks. And here's the finished pair of antlers. I intended these for Firal, and I think she looks really pretty wearing them. Fairyland sculpts are basically made for things like antlers. That's all for today though. Thanks for watching. Bye.